let's bring in New York Magazine's John Heilman. John, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Pretty well. Let's talk a little bit about our new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. This whole Anthony Weiner thing knocked it out of a lot of our coverage, and there's some really interesting stuff in it. It shows that less than half of the GOP primary voters are actually satisfied with the current crop of candidates, and if you compare that, it's 30 points lower than it was at this time in 2007. Why?
Well, I think, Chris, I think there's been a lot of speculation for a while around this late-forming field and whether a number of GOP heavy hitters were going to get into the race. So you had the speculation around Haley Barbour getting into the race. You had speculation around Mitch Daniels getting into the race. Earlier in the year, you had some speculation about Jeb Bush. And I think there were a lot of Republicans who were hoping that those guys would get in the race because they saw them as major players in the Republican Party and also had a good chance to beat President Obama next fall. The fact that they have not gotten in has left some sense of discontent. And I think it's why you see people looking conceivably to Rick Perry as really the last one, in addition to Sarah Palin, who hasn't decided whether they're going to get in and might. People look at this field, and I think there's a
what about John Rudy Giuliani
around whether. I don't hear a lot of Republicans asking that question, to be honest. There's no question Rudy Giuliani's looking about getting in. I don't think there's not that much, there never has been, not back in 2008 and now, a lot of grassroots enthusiasm around Rudy Giuliani, but there are some people who think that he would be a plausible candidate. But I think, look, everyone in the party is most focused on trying to find someone who can beat President Obama. We've seen that in the NBC Wall Street Journal poll also. That is their primary goal. And I think there's some question among a lot of Republicans whether the existing field has anyone in it who can really go toe-to-toe with the president.
It's interesting. We were all sitting around today, and I'm sure you saw the clip of Chris Christie, and he was being asked a question about sending his kids to private school while there were questions about funding for public schools, and he basically said, I didn't think it's any of your business. And some people said, that's the plain talk, the regular guy that so many people love. He says he's 100% not getting in. Is he 100% not getting in?
Look, first of all, yes. I think on the first point, the brashness and the audacity and the kind of lack of concern for political calculation that you see in Chris Christie is certainly appealing to a lot of voters, at least among when he's still a non-candidate. The question is how well that would work once he was actually in the race. On the second question, I believe Chris Christie, and I'll tell you why, Chris. He has not just said he's not getting in. He has said repeatedly that he's not qualified to be president. And that is the kind of thing that if you say it, it comes back to haunt you if you change your mind. If he now if he now were to decide to get in the race, every one of his rivals would run an ad against him that says, Chris Christie 3 months ago said he wasn't qualified to be president. What's changed in the last 3 months? It would be red meat for ad makers. And I think, when you say that, it's actually more conclusive than saying I don't intend to run or I don't plan to run or I'm not running. If you say you're not qualified to be president, you're pretty much taking yourself out of the race for this cycle.
John Heilman, it's always good to talk to you, John. Thanks so much.